Okay, we are reading Dear Martin on page 125. We're recording. We're going to read around 20 pages today. Okie dokie.
When you're reading, do you be saying the cuss words in your head?
Yep. Chapter 15, 27 days. That's how long the Riveras keep Manny's body in a mortuary cold chamber, waiting for his best friend to recover enough to attend the funeral. Frankly, just wish they'd gone ahead and had it without him. He really doesn't want to be here. The first word out of the pastor's mouth were, "We are not here to mourn a death. We are here to celebrate a life gone on to glory." Manny didn't even believe in heaven and hell. Just can imagine him saying, "The only place I've gone on is that overpriced casket." Just didn't have it in him to go up and look at the body during the viewing. He knows the cause of death, gunshot wound to the head, because he asked to see the death certificate, and the Riverses consented. To see Manny laid out all serene after knowing there was a bullet somewhere in his head, yeah, there's no way. Just can't do it. Once the service is over, Just walks with Mama to the bathroom before they head to the burial site. He doesn't want to go. As soon as she steps in, who steps out but Sarah Jane Friedman? His mouth falls open a little, and when she sees him, she freezes. Just takes his sunglasses off. She's in a navy pantsuit, no makeup, dark hair pulled back into a bun. Her eyes, which are red from crying, rove over his face, and he's so relieved to see something other than pity burning in them. He almost reaches out to hug her with his good arm. It's quite the predicament. Wanting to touch and hug and kiss a white girl after a white man shot and killed his best friend. "Hey," he says, her eyes filled with tears. "Hey, you okay?" "Pretty sure that's what I should be asking you, Just." He looks away, shrugs. Moments pass that feel like hours, days, years, centuries. She sighs. "So I know we haven't talked much, but I miss you, S." Her head snaps up. "I mean it, Just." And why shouldn't he tell her? He's already lost his other best friend. SJ opens her mouth to speak. The ladies' room door opens. "You ready, Just?" Mama sees SJ. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were speaking with someone." "Ma, this is SJ. Sarah Jane," Just says, never taking his eyes off SJ. "Mama, lovely to meet you." SJ, "Same to you, Miss McAllister." Mama turns to Justice. "I'm going to head on out to the car. You coming?" "I'll meet you there," he says. "I want to walk SJ out." No, you don't have to. My parents are actually waiting for me. I'll see you at the gravesite, okay?" "Oh, yeah. Okay, bye, S. Bye, Just." As SJ disappears around the corner, Mama's expression shifts to a frown. "Sarah Jane, huh? You know her from school or something?" "She's my debate partner, Ma. I've mentioned her plenty of times." I saw how she was looking at you. More in that girl's mind than debate." "Can we not start with this at my best friend's funeral, Mom? Please?" "I'm not starting with anything, Justice. Just saying, watch yourself with that one, that's all." "That one." "She's a good friend, Mom, and you do well to keep it that way." Just wants to argue. He wants to tell Mama all the ways SJ made him believe that he was big while everyone else wanted to keep him small. He wants to call Mama on her prejudice. Tell her in his mind she's just as bad as the guy who shot him and Manny. But he doesn't get a chance to. The second he and Mama step out of church, they get mobbed by reporters. "Mr. McAllister, how's it feel to be the boy who survived? Justice, do you think there'll be justice? What's it like knowing it could have been you in the casket?" The last one sets Justice off. "Do you have to be such an a-hole, man?" "Justice, don't say another word," Mama said, and then to the reporters, "My son has no comment. Now, if you'll please excuse us." She uses an arm to sweep the smaller reporter out of the way and then grabs Justice by the elbow to pull him through the gap. Mr. Taylor shouts and points in their direction. Suddenly, he and Mama get flanked by what to have been bodyguards. Justice winces, one of the huge guys. Burly, blonde, looks like his name could be Lars. Bumps his bad arm. The pain that shoots from his shoulder through his whole entire body like a bolt of lightning is nothing compared to what's inside of him. Page 131. Tyson indictment. Step forward for justice or grand jury blunder. Yesterday afternoon, a Georgia grand jury returned a multiple court indictment against former Atlanta police officer Garrett Tyson in connection with the January shooting involving 2 teenage boys. The indictment stands in a glaring contrast to the Nevada and Florida cases involving the deaths of Shamar Carson and Tavares Jenkins, and 2 of the charges, aggravated assault and felony murder, have many members of the community in uproar. "This man was defending himself from thugs," Tyson's neighbor, April Henry, I've known Garrett for 25 years. If he says those boys had a gun, they had a gun. A fellow police officer who asked to remain anonymous claims the indictment is nothing more than a publicity stunt at Tyson's expense. They're out to make an example of him. Prosecution pulled the race card, and the grand jury brought it hook, line, and sinker. And many agree. As a solidarity rally in Tyson's honor, picketers wore t-shirts that read, "Race baiting should be a crime," while holding signs featuring Tyson's face and the words, "Protector, not poster child," a trial that has yet to be announced. So they're charging the officer who was off duty who shot Manny. They're trying to charge him with a crime. Okay? Chapter 16. 2 days after being permanently set free from his sling, Justice gets to drive his brand new car. Ken Murray, the owner of 7 Honda dealerships across the city, is the father of one of Justice's classmates and just found a Civic with condolences from the Murray Honda family on the windshield the day he came home from the hospital. At first, he wanted to give it back. The idea of driving around in a free car from some rich white dude made him sick to his stomach, considering what had happened. But after staring at it for weeks and rereading the "Neither of you young men deserved what happened" letter from Mr. Murray, Just decided to accept the gift. It's been a month and a half since the shooting, but going to Manny's house now is no easier today than it would have been the day he learned Manny was gone. The Riverses invited Justice to dinner tonight to commemorate Garrett Tyson's indictment. But Just really isn't looking forward to being there with them, especially not inside their house. The more he thinks about it, and he's been thinking about it a lot lately, it wasn't the house that made him feel like a second home to him. It was Manny. As he pulls into the driveway, Justice instinctively heads towards 3 of the 4-car garage. He can remember all the times he and Manny waited for it to rise before pulling aside, and his stomach crawls up to his throat. Before he can throw his car in reverse and get out of there, door 3 does rise, and Mr. Rivers motions for Justice to pull in. The spot is empty, of course. Range Rover's long gone, but there's no way Justin can fill it. He puts his car in park in the driveway and climbs out. Predicate, Miss Julian, but I can't. It's just so empty, you know. Come on in. When Just jumps inside and in the fragrance of chicken catorce assaults his senses, he's 100% sure he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to sit down at the antique old table and eat from the special occasions dishes Dr. Rivers has taken from the china cabinet. He doesn't want to make small talk with his dead best friend's parents and they eat his favorite meal and not their son's. All of this is way too much, and he wants to leave and never come back. He steps into the dining room anyways. "Thank you for coming, sweetheart," Dr. Rivers says. Okay. Pulling Justin to what has to be the most emotionally filled hug he's ever experienced. He counts a full 17 seconds before she lets go. "Thanks for having me," he replies. "Go ahead and sit," Mr. Julian says. "I'll get you something to drink." Just as instructed, and after a minute, Mr. Julian comes to the table with 3 beverages, a glass of red wine for Dr. Rivers, a glass of iced tea for Justice, and a tumbler of what Just assumes is Jack Daniel's Single Barrel. That's the stuff Manny used to sneak into his flask for himself. Just seeing it just makes Just want to vomit. "So how you holding up, Justice? Back in school yet?" "Not quite. I move into the dorm on Sunday and classes start Monday." "I see." Dr. Rivers comes in holding an oval dish with 2 pot holders. She sets it on the table and the chicken breast and legs smothered in mushrooms and red sauce stare up at Justice. You think you're ready?" she says. "Ready as I'll ever be, I guess. I'm caught up, but it's now or never if I want to graduate in May." She nods and heads back to the kitchen, returns with a dish full of jasmine rice and 3 chunks of butter melting into it. "Pass me your plate," Just complies. "We're really happy to have you came to join us," Mr. Julian says. "It means a lot to us." Dr. Rivers hands Justice's plate, loaded up with food, and he has no appetite for. "We're not expecting you to talk much. Just nice to have your presence is all." "Thank you, yours too." A lie, but it seems like the right thing to say. The 3 descend into silence as silverware clinks and scrapes against bone china and beverages slowly disappear from glasses. Justice is thankful for the lack of conversation. Manny's absence makes it almost impossible to breathe, let alone talk. Once they finish, Mr. Julian clears his throat. "So, Justice, we've invited you here for a few reasons," he begins. Justice picks up his glass and gulps on the rest of his tea. The first, of course, is to memorialize the indictment. We don't dwell on it, but to us, and surely to you as well, it is something to commemorate. Dr. Rivers nods. "It's not a conviction, of course, but it's a start. Just a relief to know what happened is being treated as a crime." "Yeah, That is a relief. Moving on, the second reason. I'm not sure if you remember Emmanuel's cousin, Quan Banks. Justice's head jerks up. He says you went to elementary school together, is that correct? It is, Just, but I had no idea he and Manny were cousins until Quan got arrested. Well, if you're willing, Quan would like to see you. You've been added to his visitations list. Remember, Quan's in jail for shooting who?
Manny.
No.
Oh, the man who arrested Justice.
The man who arrested Justice, okay? Oh, okay. Emmanuel's death hit him pretty hard. You don't have to visit, of course. She and Mr. Julian do the married thing when they communicate with a glance. But he says you're the only person he wants to talk to. I see. Although he really doesn't. If you're interested, I'll give you the information before you leave. Just doesn't know what to say. Quan wants to see him? Okay, sounds good. Another lie. For a minute, no one speaks. Just can feel Mr. Julian's glaze, but there's no way he can look at him. He's what Manny would have looked like if he had gotten a chance to get older. There's one more thing. Julian? Yeah, okay. Mr. Julian gets up to the table and walks over to the china cabinet, opens it, and pulls out a black box. He sets it on the table in front of Justice. We intended to give this to Emmanuel for his 18th birthday. I have no doubt he'd want you to have it under these circumstances, and we'd be honored if you'd receive it in his stead. Justice stares at the box, afraid to move, let alone touch it. Dr. Rivers clears her throat and he lifts his head. She smiles, though there are tears in her eyes. Go on. Justice takes the box off the table and lifts the hinged top. By some miracle, he manages not to drop the contents on the floor and run away screaming. It's a watch. A Heuer with a brown face and gold numbers and a black leather band. Justice doesn't know much about watches, but he is about 87% that this one is vintage and worth more money than Mama's ever had in her bank account at once. He carefully removes it and flips it over. The inside of the band is stamped with the letters EJR. So that would be Manny's initials. So Manny's first name is really Emmanuel. Okay? My grandfather brought that watch in the 1940s. His name is Manny, just like Emmanuel Julian Rivers, and it's been passed to the oldest male for 2 generations now. We want you to have it. Just as dumbfounded. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just knowing that it's in your possession means a lot to us. Just looks back and forth between them, who are both smiling, but obviously not wanting some kind of response from him. His eyes drop to the watch, which puts a big A lump in his throat. There's no talking past it, so he does the only other thing that makes sense. He stretches out his wrist and puts it on. Chapter 17. The first thing Just notices when he pulls into the visitor lot, the Fulton Regional Youth Detention Center, is how much the building reminds him of a high school. It makes his stomach twist a little. Holding kids deemed menaces to society in a place that would be completely normal, if not for the 12-foot barbed wire-topped fences, seems like someone's bad idea of a joke. Oh, look at this nice A school. Ha, gotcha. Lockdown, fool. After Justice puts the car in park, he takes a minute to look around. Let it sink in that he's really here, that he's about to go inside a juvie and sit down with the guy who killed Castillo. The cop who profiled Justin started him on his failure of a social experiment trying to be like Martin. He almost can't believe it. Once Just started at brass prep, Quan and the other guys became nothing more than reminders of the life Just wanted to escape. Quan never made fun of Just the way the rest of them did, but still, hearing that Quan wanted to see him was a little suspect. But then he couldn't stop thinking about it. Suspicion finally gave way to curiosity, and here he is. The minute he steps into the facility, the guard by the door gives him a once-over before pointing towards an area marked visitors. Just is smacked with a sweat-inducing wave of discomfort. He leaves his IDs and keys with the lady to check in, and the second guard lifts his chain as Just approaches the metal detector. Dang, boy, he says, taking Justice's butt down, press khakis and loafers. You cleaner than some of the lawyers that come up in here. Thanks. Who you here to see? Quan Banks. The guard nods. Go on through. Show these boys what it could be like if they got their stuff together. You hear me? She'll walk you down. He gestures to the check-in lady now, waiting for Justice to step into the long hallway. Just follows her past a bunch of white-walled rooms, classrooms they look like, until they reach a large steel door with a tall rectangular window that Just suspects is bulletproof. The room has maybe 6 or 7 young guys in orange jumpsuits inside with their visitors. As the lady punches a code into the keypad on the door, Justice spots Quan waiting for him. The door opens, voices spill out into the hallway. Quan lifts his head, and he and Just meet eyes. The smile spreads to Quan's cheeks, and it overtakes his entire face. Just remembers the last time he saw it, the summer before 5th grade when Quan beat Just at Monopoly for the first time. Seeing Quan smile like that makes Just even more nervous about being here. Brainiac, Quan says, standing to greet Just. So glad you made it, homie. Yeah. Just peeks over his shoulder from the now shut exit door. It's been a while. Have a seat, my N. Have a seat. Quan sits back down and Just follows suit. Seeing the other kids in the jumpsuits talking to their visitors makes Just anxious to leave, especially since the majority of the guys in the room look just like him. It's depressing. So how you been, Justice? Quan asks. Just scratches his head. Truthfully, I've seen better days, man. Real effed up about Manny. Yeah, it is effed up. Saying the words like it's a weightlifting. 1 minute we're riding along and the next, Just sighs and shakes his head. What about you, homie? You recovering all right and everything? Well, my arm is working again, if that's what you mean. Yo, when I saw that cop on the news face... Quan stops talking. No, never mind. What about him? Quan looks Just in the eye, and then he leans closer to beckoning Just to follow suit. You know that cop they say I popped? How could Justice forget? Yeah, I do, actually. That a-hole who opened fire on you and Manny, he was dude's partner. So, the cop that pulled Justice over, threw Justice on the floor, had a partner. The partner is the one that killed Manny. Quan is the one that killed the guy who arrested Justice. Okay? Got that? Well, Thomas Castillo was Garrett Tyson's partner? Yep. How do you know that? Tyson was there that night the night you shot Castillo? Allegedly. Justice sits back in the chair and lets it all sink in. You good, dog? Quan says. You looking a little shook over there. Should just tell him? Nothing to lose, right? Can I tell you something? I'm listening. Well, like a week before Castillo died, dude arrested my butt. My girl was drunk and I was trying to get her home and he thought I was carjacking her. Put me in my cuffs and wouldn't say a word. So this mofo's just got his dessert, Quan cracks his knuckles. Justice tanks in Quan's tough guy expression. An orange jumpsuit as the power of his words and seemingly lack of remorse settles into Justice's bones. Just leans forward again. Tell me why you did it, dog. Quan features harden. Why I did what? Quan, you know you confess. I know you confess. You don't have to act innocent with me. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Quan crosses his arms. Alright then, different approach. Okay, new question. Why would someone do what you're accused of doing? Quan shrugs. If that's what someone told you to do, they'd do it. Who would tell someone to do that, though? Quan turns away and Just can see he's just about to lose him again. But when Just really needs to know is because there's now a new question on the table. Who's to say Garrett Tilson's quickness to pull the trigger wasn't caused by seeing his partner killed by a black kid? It's no excuse, of course. Just knows the effects of trauma are real. He watched his dad lash out at his mom for years. Wait, forget that who would tell question. I just really need to understand, Quan. I got shot and Manny's dead because Garrett Tilson thought I had a gun. Now you're telling me he was there when when his partner got shot? What you trying to say, man? Quan says. I'm not trying to say anything, Quan. Just put yourself in my shoes. All this stuff is foreign to me. For a minute, nobody says anything, and Just is sure his coming here was a mistake. But then Quan starts talking. Alright, listen up. Where I come from. Resistance is existence, homie. Every day I wake up in the hood could have been my last. You want to survive? Get with some ends who won't turn on you, and y'all do whatever it takes to stay at the top, you feel me? My dudes, they're like family to me. They got my back as long as I have theirs. Somebody tells you to make a move, and you make a move. No questions asked. Just shakes his head. Not buying it, dog. Don't forget I grew up right around the corner from you. Last I checked, your way got you capped and Manny killed. Just really can't respond to that. I know you all about getting ahead and everything, Justice, but you gotta face reality at some point. These white people don't got no respect for us, dog. Especially the cops. All they protect and serve is their own interests. You just gotta continue to bend your knee after they prove that stuff by killing your best friend. Again, Justice nothing. Can't say I was even surprised when I heard, man. You and Manny were good dudes, and y'all still got a raw A deal. That's why I wanted to see you talk. I got a counselor here, but I can't tell this white lady none of this stuff. She won't get it. Just nods. You know what, Quan? I feel you. And he really does. It's effed up. There's no escaping BMC, Quan says. The BMC? Yeah, black man's curse. World's got diarrhea, and dudes like us are the toilet. Guess that's one way to put it. Let me tell you when I learned. My second time in juvie, I was 14. There was a 17-year-old witch white boy's here, Sean. Dude had got up in the middle of the night and stabbed his dad like 8 times. Dang. Right? And they tried to get him on attempted murder charge, but Homeboy's lawyer got some doctor to come in and say dude was sleepwalking. And that stuff worked. Judge dropped the charge down to a simple assault. Guy got 60 days in a youth development campus, then got to go home. You serious? Yep. Meanwhile, they locked my butt up for a year on a petty theft charge because it was a second offense. Prosecutor actually referred to me as a career criminal at the hearing. Quan shakes his head. I think that was probably the moment I gave up. Why try to do the right if people will always look at me and assume wrong? Justice can't respond to that. He knows Quan committed actual crimes, whereas his only error was reaching to turn the music down, but just has to admit he's thought the same thing. What is the point in trying to do right? So what do I do then, man? He asked, surprising himself even the question. What's the alternative? He swallows the next thought. One day in jail doesn't seem like the way to go. Quan shrugs. Well, as a wise man once told me, the solution is twofold. First, you gotta use the power you already got, man. People fear dudes like me, like us. When they fear you, they don't mess with you. You feel me? Just doesn't feel Quan, but he nods anyways. Second, you need to let a crew to roll with. There's strength in numbers. Matter of fact, you should give Martel a call. Quan says he's like a big brother to a lot of us, taught us everything we know. This makes Justice's heart race. He knows exactly who Martel is and what he's about. Hello, Black Jihad? The last thing he wants to do is get involved with some gang leader. Nah, man, it's cool. I've learned plenty from you. I'm going to give you Trey's number. He'll put you in touch with Martel. You don't really have to do that, Quan. I promise you it's all right. It's hard out there by yourself, man. Martel gets it. You'll be welcomed if you want in. For real, dog, I'm good. Besides, I don't have anything to write with. I'm sure you'll remember this number until you get your phone back. You ready? As soon as Quan recites the last digit, a guard just failed to notice says, "Time's up." The whole way back to his car, some of Quan's words raced through Justice's head. Resistance is existence. These white people get no respect for us. There's no escaping the man's curse. It's exactly the kind of thinking that Just tried to combat with the letters to Martin. But asking what would Martin do didn't help, did it? That's why he stopped writing them. That's one thing Quan said that he can't dispute. Doing things Just's way got him and his best friend shot. Yeah, Quan's in jail, but at least he's alive. That's more that can be said for Manny. Before sticking the key in the ignition, Just grabs his cell phone from the center console. Before he can change his mind, he punches Trey's number in.